There's just over $1 billion worth of budget in this room. It's actually insane.
I'm interested.
This is going to be a discussion if you guys want it to be. So stick your hand up. There's people with mics around. They'll give you a mic, and then I'll throw to you when I'm ready. But you are the best in the world, I think, by a long way, at being able to see around corners in the marketing space. So, to the $1 billion in the room, what is it around the corner?
You know, it's interesting. I don't think that I actually see around corners. I think You agree? I think that I grew up marketing in a manner that was very focused on driving sales, because I don't know if any of you have a Soviet immigrant father that owns a business, but my father wasn't super interested in awards. He was interested in what was happening at the cash register. I also knew that my dad was only 22 years older than me, and this whole concept he told me, which is like, when I die, you get the business. I also know he has pretty good genetics. I was like, Dad, you're gonna be 90, I'm gonna be 70. I'm gonna have to do something for myself one day. So, the first 15, 20 years of my marketing career, I was trying to drive day-to-day sales, but I was trying to build a brand, because I knew there'd be a day I would leave, and I wanted to leave it in the best place that it could be. And so when I got into the Fortune 500 marketing world 14 years ago, one of the more interesting observations I had pretty quickly, and definitely the answer to this question, is I don't think I really see around corners. I think our industry is incredibly good at putting yesterday on a pedestal and putting tomorrow on a pedestal, and struggling to maximize today. And for me, things like making real commitment to social media, creative and media isn't around the corner. When I get credit for being right about TikTok, it had hundreds of millions of users. That's not seeing around the corner. That's understanding that this was hitting scale, but the big companies in the world weren't doing it because it wasn't measured yet. And if it's not measured, it's not being done, even if the consumer's attention is there. And in that delta is where I tend to play. That being said, I spend enormous time paying attention to things like AI or the metaverse and things of that nature. I just don't like spending actual execution dollars on it, because I don't think the consumer attention's there versus the value. I appreciate that. I do feel like I've done well in first mover advantage and things of that nature, but one of the things I'm most proud of is I don't have too many things that I've been horribly wrong about, and it's not because I'm smart, it's because I only talk about things that already happened. Hey, sir.
Hello. I loved your
What's
comment.
your name?
Cam.
Cam.
Cam from where? Introduce yourself properly.
I'm from Optus. I run consumer marketing at Optus. I used to work with Mel. She left me. It's very sad.
Everybody that Mel's ever left has been pretty sad.
It's rough. I loved your comment about bringing media and creative back together.
Yes,
How do you think about finding creative talent that wants to work in that type of environment, and how do you foster a creative culture that needs to be responsive to results and not the cigarette smoking, I'm an artist creative that from yesterday?
That is a very smart question. No question, the biggest challenge. So VaynerMedia started 14 years ago. I ran a wine retail business for my father, and then I started the agency. I knew nothing. I've never heard of anything that I now know of in this industry. I didn't even know that media and creative was separate. And in 14 years, we've built a company that has 2,000 employees and is a very large agency globally. And by far, the biggest challenge in those 14 years is to give creatives more self-esteem. It is stunning how insecure the creative directors of ad agencies are around the world. And the lack of humility and curiosity is devastating. And the retraining of all the creatives that we hire from the most iconic shops is extremely challenging. They'd much rather believe that their subjective opinion in a boardroom is right than black and white quant and qual data. And so, we do it with empathy. with a lot of training, with a lot of, for us, what's working is 3 years ago, we made a pretty substantial decision, which was every single creative globally would make creative every day. So our entire creative department globally actually makes creative every day. And as we all know, because we're in the industry, most creative shops are not in the business of making actual creative. They're in the business of making decks and pitching ideas, and then you then get a company to make the production. As we've been able to get these creatives to start making, it's been really fascinating. That has been the breakthrough for us, to answer your question. Because they are now living in a more merit-based world, they're starting to get more excited about it. Many quit. People really want to. So we've done more Super Bowl spots in America in the last 4 years than any creative agency, which is like a brain twist for everybody because we're so positioned as social. But as it's happening now, and we have a very good culture. Like actually, no bullshit. So we're rolling now. We get the inbound from Wyden and Crispin and Droga, senior creative people, and they all talk that shit to me when I interview them. They're like, I'm fucking ready. I'm done with this fucking industry. It's all bullshit. I'm coming. And when they come in their first creative meeting, when somebody who's 23 years old has a different opinion and they talk up, they're stunned. They're like, what the fuck are you doing talking? And I remind them, like, no, you just told me you were ready for this. They're not ready for this. It's much more fun when they just get to pontificate their, great ideas can come from anywhere, they like to say. But they don't live that life. And so it's a real challenge. It's one of the biggest investments we make. It's enormous amounts of training. Predominantly, it is therapy. And we actually make that. We really actually train that way. We put in a ton of time in the upfront hiring. We really try to tell people, we're like, listen, you're not gonna like this. Your opinion does not matter more. You make, and then and you have no idea how to make social media creative. So we're gonna train you. But are you really ready for this level of merit? And the answer is almost none of them are.
So tell me the difference then between creating good creative on outdoor and TV and bad creative on outdoor and TV versus good creative on social or bad creative on social. So what is the difference when you execute either way on either side?
You can't hide in social. You post and real stuff happens.
And when you post something bad on socials, it goes nowhere.
Right.
If you put something bad on a billboard,
we make pretend it did well. Because 6,000 cars drove by it, and 3.7 people are in every fucking car.
There's a small group of high-profile people in the music industry here. How do you think about marketing an artist when you're just trying to get the streams up and cost per click is going to be way too much for the stream that you would get? How do you market a brand? How would you break a brand new artist if they were under your agency?
By only signing artists who prove they know how to market. That's what I would do. You have to understand, every artist that's coming up the game now. What's that?
We're going to get you to repeat that.
Oh, I'm sorry. To me, we now live in a world, if you think about artists, I think we can all, not every artist, there's plenty of artists in their 30s, 40s, 50s breaking, but I think we can all agree that in the music industry, quite a few of the artists that are being signed are coming up, and they're in a certain age group where most of these artists now are equally creators. Right, and this, the A&R business has changed quite a bit. You don't need to go to the bars at 2 a.m. and find them. You just go to the social platforms and see it. To me, it's very clear to me, and I spend a lot of time looking at emerging artists, it's very clear which artists understand how to be creatives. And I think for me, to answer your question, I wouldn't take the risk of signing an artist just on the quality of the music. There's too many people with quality music, and some of them also know how to create creative for the platforms that have the end consumer's attention. And then once you have that, the artist is doing the work. You can build infrastructure around them, but they're native to the understanding of how to create, right? Lil Nas X is a growth hacker. He's a growth hacker. He was going at that for a while. and then he figured it out. Lil Nas X is more Mr. Beast than he is Kanye West. And that is a blueprint to where this is going. And so, but because if you're trying to break an artist, the problem is, and we know this, like what Logan Paul and KSI are doing with, Prime, and what Mr. Beast is doing with Beastables, like the human now has the leverage. Most of the competitors, in a meaningful way, of the consumer brands in here are going to be human beings going forward. Because the humans have such scale of audience and such understanding. This is why the creative question was such a great question. I would feverishly argue that some of the least creative people walking around on earth right now are creatives at advertising agencies. Because when they think of ideas, they think from the lens of getting a press hit or a Cannes Lion. They don't think about consumers or the business. And so we have to change that behavior, otherwise we'll continue to get less creative.
So does the data feed the creativity, or is it the creativity that informs the data?
Both. When you're an actual practitioner of this, it works both ways. You make decisions and you make creative that's been informed by data, but then you're also doing a ton of creative things that you're able to then post-game and learn and affirm from it. You're doing both. But like big data, everyone's got big data. Okay, now what? What are you doing with it? There's not a company in here that doesn't have unlimited fucking big data. Congrats. You got big data, you got a great data lake. You like your data lake? Like, we've gotten very, very far away from the consumer.
Question.
We've gotten very far away from the consumer. Have you ever been to Cannes?
No.
Okay, when you go, or if you ever go, you should see the crazy shit that goes on there. There's these chief creative officers of these agencies, and they think they're famous. And they walk around with this statue, and yet no normal human being has ever saw their piece of shit 30-second video ever. Like, we are living in a delusional bubble of our industry. It's really a problem. And I'm saying this I'm not here to razz. I'm here to say, like, let's not do this anymore, because if we keep doing it, it's going to get worse. And so, no, I don't think our production money is going to help us win the game of merit when we're becoming less consumer-centric, not more. We literally think that our brand positioning should be a vanilla statement that means something to everyone. By nature, it means that it means nothing to no one. Like, every single brand positioning that everyone trades on in our industry is like just some cockamanian 4 words. Toyota's brand positioning is "let's go places." Like, what do we do with that? Like, they're still gonna make a video with a fucking car going up a mountain. Like, we're just not having real conversations. And when you don't have real conversations for a long period of time, bad shit happens. But I can tell you one thing. In the last 20 years, as the biggest brands in the world have lost market share because of the reality of the internet, holding companies have made a lot of money.
Why?
Because they separated media and creative, and now they don't have to be held accountable. It's really hard to be a service provider when you're beholden to your shareholders. The bigger question is, why does this industry spend most of its money on TV and programmatic? Because I can tell you those are the 2 most profit centers for agencies, and I find that curious.
Couldn't agree more. Gary, I think I speak for everyone, the $1 billion in this room, where I'm going to say a huge thank you. So everyone give Gary a real round of applause.
Thank you.